And kind of continue in the vein of you can't hear me? Holy moly. All right.
You got a mic? You got a mic?
No, we'll be all right. We're going to try to continue in the vein of what I laid out for us at the group on Monday, where we're all going to try to kind of learn together, get better together. I agree with Greg. We're going to continue some of the things that we've been doing before. What I want to do today is a little bit try to do something different at clinics. Last time I think we did a lot of sitting around, not moving very much. This time we're going to do a little bit differently, and I'll talk to you about how we're going to do stuff when we get there. But right now I just want to remind you, I think I show every time I run a clinic, I show this basic presentation, but I want us to be reminded of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, rules of the game, and all that kind of stuff. So today we're going to have 4 breakout sessions, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. One's going to be led by Matthew Pearman, one's going to be led by Kevin Smith, one will be led by me, and one will be led by Greg Walls. So those are the 4 guys that I owe, or 3 guys that I owe gratitude to, and they have assistants to help them out. I think Al and Mark Yoder and Woodle and Sam Rock are apprentice instructors, and I appreciate the help they're going to give us too. So couple things to keep in mind. The reason that we're here is so we don't have to practice. Perfect practice makes perfect. The reason that we're here is so that we don't have to make debates about what we're doing at the end, right? So when we're doing what we're doing, we've already thought about how we're going to handle these things. If we don't think about how we're going to handle something, or how things are going to, what we're going to do before we get to a situation, we're not going to be able to handle it well. And that's not much different than when you were athletes and you practiced. The reason you ran practice, the reason you ran drills, was so when that stuff came up in the game, you had already knew what you were going to do. That's why we did those things, and that's why we're going to do what we are going to do. That's part of why we're doing what we do. Okay? Some simple rules for today. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Right? 2 ears and 1 mouth. Okay. So listen twice as much as you talk. Right? Listen twice as much as you talk, because we're going to listen to each other today. We're going to listen to each other today. Okay? And we'll talk about what we're going to do when we get there. You're going to see different stuff happen that's going to be similar going around in our groups, because I'm going to break you into 4 groups. Don't pit presenters against each other. Don't say Matthew said this, or Greg said that, or Tony said this. Every one of us approaches these things differently, and you're going to approach them differently than we are. And everything we're going to do today is largely subjective. We're not going to have long rules sessions. We're not going to talk a lot about rules. We're going to talk about different things. So everything's not black and white. Okay? Don't ask us about the plays that are third world plays. So the response you'll get from me, as I've said before, is if you start to ask me a third world play, I'm going to say day game or night game. And if you don't get it after that, I'm going to say grass or turf. If you don't get it after that, I'm going to ask you if the temperature is above or below 50. And I'm going to keep asking you inane questions till you stop with your third world play. We want to talk about plays that actually happen in the games that we have. Stuff that we see. Okay? If you're confused, ask a question. But don't ask a question you know the answer to. Okay? Nobody appreciates the guy that asks the question he knows the answer to. Okay? And don't ask a question if you don't want the answer. If you're not prepared to hear the answer, don't ask the question. This is going to be really important in today's session. We can't have 27 people talking at once, because I'm going to break you into 4 groups, and we're going to move around, and we're going to do some scenarios. And if one guy's talking and 3 other people are carrying on a side conversation, it's going to be hard for us to hear from each other, because I think everything that everybody has to say today can help each other, and we want to be able to hear each other and show each other the respect of listening to each other. Okay, if we do come into a rules issue, remember that anytime we want to apply rules, we want to think about spirit and intent, common sense and fair play. And remember, the rule book contains a finite set of rules for an infinite set of situations. The same is true for a mechanics manual. It's a finite set of mechanics for an infinite number of things that can happen on the field. And sometimes you just got to have to umpire, and that's part of what we're going to try to do today. Okay? As we always umpire and we think about this, in these situations that we're going to talk about, we want to recognize the importance of the position that we're in and the dignity is. We're held to a different standard. They can say things to us we can't say to them. They can act in ways that we can't act. We're supposed to be the guys that are above it. We're the guys with the dignity, right? We're the guys that have to uphold the integrity of the game as it's being played. Always remember as we do this to temper your ambition with patience, right? It's better to be a year late than a year early. It's better to be a year late than a year early. And this is just kind of general comments that don't necessarily apply to today. And that we all know some guys that were a year early and they're not there anymore. Because you end up being in over your head or out over your skis. And you don't want to be out over your skis. You're out over your skis. I know that doesn't work real well in the South, but you're out over your skis means you're out of control. You're not in control of what's going on, okay? What we're here for and what our training is, and this is one of the, again, part of what I want us to think about is training, is we're here to provide you with feedback. We're not here evaluating any of you. Our job today is not evaluation. Hey, I'm not going to write down that Gary said this and hey, I'm going to rate him like he thought he was a 1. I'm going to make him a 3 after he said that. Holy moly, that's ridiculous. We're not here evaluating anybody. None of our intention is to evaluate anybody. That's a different place. What we want to do is hear what you have to say, listen to it, and then provide feedback. Provide feedback for what you do, okay? Remember that if we work hard here and if you're willing to play along with what we're doing and you work hard here, it'll pay off, right? Hard work pays off in the future. If you want to be lazy, you can get the return from that immediately. That's really easy. And now I know these are kind of small. I thought we'd be in a bigger room with a bigger thing. Just some general thoughts about umpiring, okay? And these are, again, important points. Some of them have something to do with today, some of them don't. These are kind of random thoughts, right? The problem with Mavericks is they make it exceedingly difficult for umpires who try to do the right thing. We all want to learn what the right thing is. We want to do the right thing. If we're all on the same page as an association about the way we're going to handle different things, then we don't have to hear when we show up on Friday or Thursday that the crew that was here the guys that were here on Tuesday, they didn't do it that way. They let us do this. How come you're letting us do that? It makes it hard for everybody. Don't be the maverick, okay? Anytime we're umpiring, we want to confirm the result of the play rather than anticipate the result. We've talked a lot about that. During all of these things we're going to talk about, remember, you can always feel the way, you can always choose to feel any way you want, anytime, any place. You choose to be miserable, you're going to be miserable. You choose to enjoy what you're doing, you choose to enjoy being out on the field, you choose to enjoy the situation you're in, you're going to enjoy the situation you're in. You get to choose the way you feel. You actually get to choose the way you feel. Somebody else can't make you feel bad. You choose to feel bad. Think about that. That's going to be important when we start talking about situations. Never get in a fist fight with an ugly guy. He got nothing to lose, right? And the other one is, it's a little less PC, never get in a you-know-what contest, because all anybody ends up in that is wet, okay? If we got, and this is going to be something important for today, if you have a coach or anybody that's behaving in an unprofessional manner, address the unprofessional behavior. Don't let them behave unprofessionally. Okay, and these are some other things that have less to do, just some thoughts. Better to strike a ball than ball a strike. Right? Close calls are not as difficult as unexpected calls. That's why we're practicing. That's why we're going through these things. So the stuff we're going to do today is going to help us. Okay? One of the important takeaways from today is we're not going to try to win in any of these situations we're talking about. That's not our goal. Our goal is not to win. Our goal is to manage. And by manage, we mean, what are we there for? We're there to play baseball, right? So we're taking a book kind of out of the referees from soccer or basketball. Let's get the game moving. Because if we can get the game moving, we can get the guys from being focused on this thing that they're not happy about to focused on something different, right? Focus back on the game, focus to what they're doing, and the game will move along. And always remember the law of the farm. Right? Always remember the law of the farm. You sow, right? You reap what you sow. You reap what you sow, and you can't change that. If you work hard and you figure this stuff out, you're going to be better off and you're going to grow better crops. Okay? Let's talk a little bit about learning. And this is why we're here. Learning, I think, requires three things. It requires an experience. That means you're subject to some experience. Whether it's listening to somebody talk or being put in a situation, you have to have an experience. After that experience, if that experience doesn't put you in some sort of disequilibrium, it doesn't make you feel uneasy, you're not going to learn anything from it. Because that means if you're not uneasy, anything you were going to learn, you already know. If you think about the things that you've ever learned in your life, there was a feeling of, I'm out of whack right here. Whoa, wait a minute. I'm struggling right here with this. And then to actually learn, what you needed was a moment of reflection, right? You needed a moment of reflection. And that reflection is what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to give you experiences today. After those experiences, we're hoping they're going to make you go like that. And then after you reflect on them with the rest of the people in your group, then maybe we'll learn something. Okay, but all learning requires that. Experience, disequilibrium, and reflection. And if you think about anything you've ever learned in your life, the most important things you've ever learned in your life, I'll bet you go back and you'll agree with that. The theme for today, and I guess we're going to go a little bit faster than I thought here today in the morning, so we'll get to this a little bit quicker than we thought, is the theme for the day is don't let molehills become mountains, or don't make mountains out of molehills. How do we prevent things from getting worse than they really are? How do we prevent that from happening? Okay, or as Barney Fife used to say Opie, what was that? Mayberry RFD, there you go. Remember what Barney used to say? Nip it in the bud, right? I found like a remix of Barney last night on YouTube where they were doing, you know, nip it in the bud, right? Nip it in the bud. But that's a little bit harsh. What we want to do is get guys to be happy about going away, happy that they were heard, and that we can move the game on. And we're going to try to learn that in different situations today. Greg's going to talk about balls and strikes, kind of things you're going to get around that. Kevin's going to talk about kind of safe out stuff and stuff that might happen on the bases. Matthew's going to talk about interference kind of stuff, batters and runners and things like that, situations. And I'm going to talk about players and coaches kind of showing you up. How do we handle a player or a coach showing you up? And how would you handle that? So we're going to run through some scenarios like that. Okay? And this is what we're going to do. I'm a lot faster than I thought I was going to be because you guys don't like to listen to me talk for a long time, so we'll get a little bit more time. Matthew or Greg or Kevin, you want to add anything before I go through the logistics of what we're going to do? You want to say something?
Fellas, there's going to be a few minutes in between sessions, and as we rotate, so just use that period of time to deal with your, if you want to tell your war stories to your buddies and you want them to know how well you handled something, use that opportunity to do that. Don't during the time that we're trying to work with the entire group.
I'm just holding it up.
And secondly, we've got a schedule from 9 to 3. If we go through and do what we're doing, there's no reason probably why we can't get out of here a little early. I'm all in favor of getting out early when we can. We're going to get through what we need to get through and what we've planned to get through, but a lot of it's going to be dictated on everybody staying within the realm of where we're at and what we're doing in order to keep it moving. Lunch is about 11:30, if memory serves me right, and I think that's it. I will tell you on a side note that doesn't have anything to do with it today. Got a call yesterday, and we picked up a new school that for you guys who live a little south of town, you should be happy about.
Matthew, you want to say something? You good, Kevin? Which part didn't you hear? We got a new school south of Richmond you'll be happy about. That's all he said. It's a big mystery, wrapped up in an enigma, surrounded by an unknown. Something like that, right? Kevin, you got anything?
I'll say mine.
Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you kind of the plan of attack today, okay? What we're going to do is we have 4 spaces to do this in. We have a team room over there. Mark, is that right? Team room over there, team room over there, and team room over here. And then, or is it over there? The other one? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 team rooms and then this space. What we're going to do is we're going to break you into 4 groups. We're going to break you into 4 groups. And the groups are basically, the instructors are going to move around and the groups are going to kind of stay put because we're trying to record one of each session. Instead of moving you guys around, we're going to move the groups around. So we're just going to put groups in each one of these rooms. What we're going to do is we're going to set up kind of a scenario and we're going to pick an umpire. You're going to go through 4 groups and do 3 or 4 guys are going to go through a scenario. So that means by the end of the day, 12 to 16 of you are going to get to role play in each group. Same guys don't get to go over and over again. We're going to set up a scenario. We're going to see how you handle it. We're going to let you deal with it the way you would deal with it on the field. And we're going to go through 3 or 4 of you in each session. And then after you're done, the group is going to talk about with you, and we're all going to talk and listen about what do you think about how that was handled. How do you think, what do you like about that? What could we do better? What did we do well? What could we change? Those sorts of things. And then we're going to go through that in each one, because these things are important to do. So it's going to be, I'm going to get the uncomfortable disequilibrium I can see right now looking around the room. When I said you're going to get to go through stuff, a whole bunch of eyes went to the ground. Okay? So I got the uncomfortable part. Now it's your job to reflect, and that's what we're going to try to do in here. So we're going to go through different scenarios in each room with each guy. And if you look at the stuff that we picked to talk about, these are things we deal with in high school games, right? Having the old Earl Weaver, Tom Hallion, was that who he's arguing? It doesn't matter. Argument, that's fun and it tells a great war story, but when's the last time anybody in this room got in that kind of argument? Those arguments don't happen. They just don't happen. What we have is guys that don't like balls and strikes. We have guys that argue about safe and out calls. We have interference calls that guys are begging for or can't get. We got coaches and players showing us up in different ways. Those are the things we deal with, and we think we need to do a better job of handling those things in a way, a professional manner, in the way that we treat the other guys as colleagues. Because one of the most important things to understand when we're on a baseball field is we're not adversaries. We are not adversaries with the players and coaches. If you believe we're adversaries, you need to take your game out of the 1990s and 1980s, and you've got to bring it into the new millennium. It's not the way it works anymore. Schools at all levels, especially high school and college level, they expect the coaches to be an extension of the classroom. They tell you that explicitly. They are teachers on the baseball field. These are student athletes. We're supposed to be an extension of that classroom. So when I say we're colleagues, what I mean is this. We as umpires and they as coaches and the kids as players are all in this to create a baseball game. We can't have a baseball game without us. We can't have a baseball game without the players. We can't have, nobody laugh at this one, we can't have a game without the coaches. Okay? Every one of those pieces is important. And so we're all colleagues, that is, we work together to create the baseball game. Look, in your own job away from baseball, there are guys that are at different orders, guys that can tell you have different roles in what they do, but you work together. Our role on the baseball field, right, go back, the player's role is to do what? Is to play. The coach's role is to teach baseball, sportsmanship, those sorts of things, and have strategy about the way the players play. Our role is to make sure that they follow the rules. They hire us to make sure they follow the rules. They don't hire us to tell them what to do. They hire us to help them play by the rules. So our job is to help them play by the rules. And when they're not playing by the rules, is to let them know that they're not. And if they want to debate that with us, then we have to learn ways as colleagues to get them to move on to the next thing. So when I say we're colleagues, I really mean we're colleagues. The idea that we're just running people left and right, that's old. The shut the heck up in there, that's all gone. At every level of baseball, it doesn't work. It's just going to make a mess. So we need to do a better job at those sorts of things. All right, that's what I think we want to do today. So Matthew, how are we breaking these guys up? You want to just go eyeball them, or you want to break them up some other way?
We'll use the liaison groups.
All right.
So, another